Hi, this is Greg Maddox, and you're listening to Out of Left Field on the Grueling Truth Network.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back to Out of Left Field. Graham and Chris back here with you again. Sorry for the delay this week. A lot of stuff going on in the real world, so we have had to take a quick hiatus, but we're back. Plenty of stuff to get into. Let's put the ball in play right away. And, Chris, as we do that, we might as well start off with a guy who put the ball in play 3,089 times in his career. He will now head to the front office at Safeco Field. Ichiro Suzuki retires from the game of baseball and now moves in to a front office role with the Seattle Mariners.
Yeah, and this is sort of a shocker, right? I think we all sort of expected him to try to finish out this season at least, possibly even play another one. I think Ichiro had said that he wanted to play until he was 50. And of all the guys in the league that could do it, I think Ichiro's the guy. Probably hit
a very inauspicious end to a career that I think we saw ending much different than it is.
Yeah, and it's a little bit weird for him to not just retire, but to move into the, sort of
immediate front office role.
Right. I'm not sure how I feel about Suzuki in the assistant to the general manager position for the Mariners. I get that he has a huge amount of baseball knowledge. He has a huge amount of ability to spot talent, but I don't know what his management ability is. And I don't know where that's going to put him moving forward.
Well, here's the oddity here. While we're using the R word, this is not an effective retirement.
No, it's just a removal from an on-field role.
Right. He cannot return to the active roster this year, but he is not filing retirement papers with Major League Baseball.
Right.
If he tries to come back for a different team, I will be absolutely, and I'm going to use a fun word here, flabbergasted. I can't imagine why. Yes, English teacher with a nod of approval. I appreciate that, my man. By the way, quick off topic, congratulations to you, new homeowner, for you, your wife, and your family. Congratulations, big news. So that's pretty awesome. I know you're excited about that, so a big tip of the cap.
I'm super excited. When we're done here, I have to go install new toilets.
Yes. Yes. While you're there, take all of your takes and put them in there. It's the proper spot. Anyway, as I was saying, Mariners general manager Jerry DiPoto said, quote, in a press release, quote, "We want to make sure we capture all of the value that Ichiro brings to this team off the field. This new role is a way to accomplish that. While it will evolve over time, the key is that Ichiro's presence in our clubhouse and with our players and staff improves our opportunity to win games. That is our number one priority and Ichiro's number one priority," close quote. I'm with you, man. I'm curious to see, what he's doing. I mentioned this, I think, a couple of years ago. I thought that he would be an interesting choice as a hitting coach for some team because of the way that he, and I say this with all deference and respect, he hit like a softball player.
Right. That moving swing.
Yeah. Moving, it's almost kind of like, hands on top of the ball, kind of a cross step. I mean, he was taking a step, towards getting himself out of the box before, or as he was making contact with the baseball. So I do not say that disparagingly at all. It was a very different, sort of swing. But as I've told you this, and I think I told this story probably the third or fourth show we ever did, when Lou Piniella was the skipper for the Mariners, when Ichiro came up, and Ichiro was taking BP one day, and he was just hitting line drive after line drive after line drive after line drive. And Piniella, in his infinite knowledge and mastery of the English language, meaning he used multiple expletives, which you and I can appreciate as former Army soldiers. said, and I will keep it clean, can you just hit the damn ball over the wall? Would it really hurt you to do that? So through the interpreter, he told Ichiro, and Ichiro kind of looked at him and stood back in the box and deposited 5 straight balls into right field over the fence in roughly the exact same grid square, if you will. Pinellas looked at him and was like, okay. Didn't bother him again. Didn't say anything. He's like, I got it at that point. Ichiro was willing to sacrifice his career power numbers to be a role player on that team. It's why when you said the quote of, he said, don't compare me to Ohtani, right. And it sounded such a negative quote. There was massive respect there, and he's right. They are such different players. Ichiro is a guy who sacrificed power to be an on-base guy and to use his legs to create offense. Ohtani is a guy who has massive power and uses that power to his advantage while also playing on the other side of the game as a pitcher.
Right. I'm just interested to see. I mean, Ichiro is obviously a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't think there's any question there.
Undeniably.
I'll be interested to see, because in my opinion, Ichiro is one of those guys who should be on every single ballot. And, Griffey was the other person who I
should have been the first.
Who should have been, I think, should have been the first unanimous Hall of Famer. But this is another thing for me. If Ichiro isn't a first ballot Hall of Famer, I'll be disappointed in the Baseball Writers Association. If he's not a 97 to 98% first ballot Hall of Famer, I'll be disappointed. And I think he has the opportunity to be a unanimous vote, because Ichiro never did the thing that some people disparage Griffey for, and that's leaving the Mariners at the height of his ability and then floundering with the team that he went to. When Ichiro left the Mariners, he was 15 years into his career.
Yeah, he left the Mariners in the middle of the 2012 season. He was traded in the 2012 season to the Yankees and played in New York from 12 to 14, and so then went to Miami for 3 years. So he was at least one team or each team for multiple years. He wasn't a journeyman from stop to stop.
And if you look in the 67 games that he played in New York, he had 73 hits. The next year for New York, he had 136, then 102. This is a guy coming to the close of his career and still hitting over 100, putting the ball in play over 100 times a year, and keeping that batting average up in the high 200s. And, he's not the guy who is going to hit the ball over the wall, 600 times. He's not an Albert Pujols, who we'll get to in a minute. He has 117 home runs his whole career. But like you said, he could put the ball over the wall. But the thing is he could put the ball anywhere he wanted.
I'm going to give you this. He is – let's be honest. The game of baseball has been around for a good chunk of time.
Yeah, 150.
Understatement of the day, get out of the way early. Ichiro Suzuki is top 100 all time in the following categories. 1 second here, I pull it back up. Gotta love it when we're doing full-blown radio here and you lose a screen. He is 98th all time in batting average. He is 35th all time in on-base percentage. He is 36th all time in games played. He is 30th all times in at-bats. He is 48th all time in career plate appearances. He is 92nd all time in total bases, 22nd all time in hits, 89th all time in runs scored, 35th all time in stolen bases, 6th all time in singles, 87th all time in runs created, 26th all time in intentional walks. That one's kind of funny to me. In intentional walks. 70th all time in the number of times he was on base.
And it does sound funny that he would be a top intentional walk guy, but think about it. You're not worried about him putting the ball over the wall so much as you are worried about him hitting with runners in scoring position.
Yep.
Because, like I said, he could put the ball anywhere he wanted, and it was typically away from defenders.
Yeah.
And
I agree with you, man. I mean, if you want to say a black mark, if you want to disparage one thing, be negative on one thing, I will give you the one thing that you can kind of give it the sideways glance on. Rookie of the year. That's it. That is it. If you want to say, hey, the guy was 29 years old when he came in the big leagues, is he really a rookie?
27.
Okay, 27, I'm sorry. Is he really a rookie? Okay, he's played in professional baseball in Japan for years. I get that by the letter of MLB law, he was the rookie that year. If you want to look and say, yeah, but did he really deserve, rookie of the year honor? Sure. He did things that no rookie would do.
I'll tell you right now, though, in my opinion, you'd be wrong.
And I am understand. I am saying if you want to look at that, I can understand maybe why you would. I'm not agreeing with it. To me, what he did was absolutely. It was one of the best careers in generations.
Let's look at his rookie year. Age 27, All-Star, MVP, Rookie of the Year, Gold Glove, Silver Slugger. Hit 350 that year. He would then go on to be an All-Star and Gold Glover 9 consecutive times to follow. I mean,
10 straight All-Star game appearances, 1 MVP and Rookie of the Year. In 01.
10 straight Gold Gloves.
Yeah.
Strong offensive player, strong defensive player. Absolute shoo-in for the Hall of Fame, in my opinion.
3-time Silver Slugger. Yeah, there is no doubt. But he is not the only guy who is, we look at who has made noise with the stick. Now, granted, he is the only guy that we will talk about today who is no longer making noise because he's retiring. But Mookie Betts, he be having himself a season.
Yeah, just a smidge. I would say that
2-3 homer games, and we are 28 games into the year.
Yeah, and let's not forget that he becomes one of 2 people in baseball history to have consecutive years with 2-3 homer games. The other person, Johnny Mazet, first baseman, played about 60 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a guy who
he made his mark in 38 and 40. Remember, there was no 39, so
right.
We don't talk about that.
I mean, this is a 365 batting average. He's got almost a 1.3 OPS. But see, here are the things that impress me about him. And the guys I'm looking at who I told you could win the batting title this year, at least so far for me, Gregorius, Altuve, and Betts. Those are my top 3. The thing that stands out the most to me about them is their strikeout to walk ratio.
Right.
Mookie Betts has struck out 13 times in 104 at-bats. He's also walked 13 times. Yeah.
It's almost like every time he swings through a third strike, he says to himself, well, now I got to get on base the next time. Whether I hit the ball or whether I draw a walk, I got to get on base the next time. Which is what a hitter should be thinking.
25 extra base hits. He's got 38 total hits. He's got 25 extra base hits, 12 doubles and 13 homers. I mean, dude.
Let's put it this way. He's got 38 hits. A third of them have gone over a wall.
Yeah. And there is a very clear and distinct reason. why Mookie Betts has put the Red Sox, at least I think for me and probably for you, in a very comfortable position on our power rankings, which are coming up here just a few minutes on the show. Listening to Out of Left Field with Chris and Graham. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at OOLeftField on Twitter and the Out of Left Field with Chris and Graham Facebook page. Also, hey, we're brought to you by the Grueling Truth Network, as we have been every week. Have been for, Chris, almost 2 years now. We are right around the corner from the 2-year anniversary of the show. Check out thegruelingtruth.net, at Grueling Truth on Twitter, where legends speak. Plenty of stuff coming with the NFL draft that just occurred a couple of weeks ago. All kinds of articles on that. And, of course, the Bronx Bombers podcast and a new New York Mets podcast. A lot of new baseball stuff coming down the pike from the Grueling Truth.
Has it only been 2 years?
Yeah.
God, it seems like forever.
Yeah. I mean, dude, the crazy thing is when we started this show, you actually didn't have crop circles on top of your head. It's been a long time. It's been a while.
That's true. Your hairline didn't touch the nape of your neck.
Yeah, that's true. I let it grow a little bit. Granted, I think what you mean is my hairline was further in front of my ears at this point. It's
definitely where I was going with that. But speaking of guys who have been making noise with the bat, and maybe not making as much noise now as he used to make when he was young and spry and before he had plantar fasciitis, but Albert Pujols made a resounding amount of noise with the bat last night with his 3,000 and 3,001st hits, which not only put him on the 3,000 hit club as the 32nd member, but moved him into 31st place, passing Roberto Clemente with his 3,001st hit and becoming just the fourth person in history to do it in hit.
You can put a little star next to that statistic.
Why is that?
Because A-Rod's on that list.
Oh, true. Only the fourth player in the group to get there while slugging 600 home runs.
Is there? Yeah, this is a guy who has played the game right, never failed a drug test. You look at he got bigger as he got old. Yeah, but guys get bigger. When you come in the league at 21, LeBron James is an absolute freak of nature. He wasn't the same size at 21 as he is now.
And let's face it,
get bigger. We've seen Pujols begin to get a little bit smaller in the last 4 or 5 years.
Pujols' hat is the same size, and I think that's an important metric.
Right. It's a guy who, when we go down the list of his career, only one time in his entire career has he played less than 100 games. That was in 2013. He played 99. But even more so than that, only one time in his career has he played less than 143 games in a season.
Yeah.
This is a guy who you think, man, the numbers have gone down, it might have gone down, but he is still out there every day trying to give something positive to that ball club. He had from 2001 to 2010 every year hitting over 300. This is the one that makes me scratch my head. Now, granted, it's been a long, I was 14 at the time or 15 at the time, so I don't remember the exact reasoning behind this. I want to ask you a question, Chris. I'm going to just read you some numbers here because, numbers never lie, even though we both know numbers lie incessantly because you can make numbers be whatever you want them to be.
Sure.
118 runs scored, 185 hits, 40 doubles, 2 triples, 34 home runs, 127 runs driven in, 72 walks to 69 strikeouts, a .314 batting average, a .394 on-base percentage, and a .561 slugging percentage, finishing second in the MVP. Is that all-star numbers to you?
I think so.
Albert Pujols did not make the All-Star team in 2002. Those were his final numbers of the year.
Yeah, I think that
just a head scratcher, really.
There was a glitch in the voting system that year or something.
I mean,
let's not forget that the All-Star game is really not much more than a popularity contest. Right. And while he did win Rookie of the Year and he was an All-Star the year before, fourth in the MVP voting the year before, he was still new. He was still a kid. He wasn't doing quite as well as he had done the show-stopping numbers he had put up the year before. So
I'm sorry. I hear you. But I gotta say,
we're also talking about a guy who hit 359, slugged 667, and ended with an OPS of 1,106.
Brother, Todd Helton was starting first baseman that year. Richie Sexson was the backup first baseman in the All-Star game that year.
I don't even know who that is. But what I'm saying is we're talking about a guy who hit 359 and with an OPS of 1106 and it ended up second in the MVP voting in 2003.
Right.
What?
You know, a three-time MVP. And again, we'll move on from this, a massive tip of the cap. But, dude, when we think power hitters nowadays, all we think of is, man, he's got pop. God, he's going to strike out a lot. Albert Pujols has 1,163 strikeouts. He's got 1,255 walks.
Yeah, less than a 1-to-1. And let's not forget that he has fewer strikeouts in his career than Giancarlo Stanton, who's been playing half as long.
And I don't care if you say 308 of his walks are intentional. Guess what? They still had to put him on base.
The only smudge I see is that he has a tendency to ground into double plays. 365 times in his career, he's grounded into double plays.
It's only dude. That's one a day for a calendar year. Yeah. He's played 18 years.
Yeah. I mean, the guy's numbers are monstrous.
I mean, I want to say that if you told me,
let's not forget, he's chasing yet another milestone this year.
Yeah.
A guy who averages 120 ribs a year and has 19 so far is only 63 RBI away from 2,000, making him one of, I think, two members of the clubs of the 3,600, 2,000 club.
Right. This is what I will say to the end of it. If you looked at me and said, hey, Graham, we're going to give you 18 years of Albert Pujols, but one of those years in every single game, we're saying calendar year here, just for in every game from January 1st to December 31st, he's going to ground into one double play. I would look at him and say, how much does he want? I get it, but at the end of the day, he is by far one of the classiest players we've had in the big leagues. I certainly hope that fans in St. Louis don't jeer him and respond to this milestone with the class that he deserves and the class that he gave that city when he made the choice to go to L.A. At the end of the day, guys, it was a deal that was right for both sides. They wanted to keep Albert. Albert wanted more money. He got injured. So, hey, you know what? I mean, the Cardinals didn't do wrong. And this guy's a businessman, trying to make sure that he has enough money to take care of his family for the next 2 or 3 generations. A great tip of the cap to him, and massive congratulations.
I do have to say one last thing.
Okay. Why not? Go ahead. Your show.
He will be the third member of the 2,000 RBI club, the 3,600, 2,000 RBI club.
Right.
Unfortunately, there's an asterisk there too because A-Rod is also in that club.
Huh.
It's A-Rod, Hank Aaron, and soon to be Albert Pujols.
See, this is how I kind of picture this, right? Those four guys are hanging out in your new house.
Sure.
Okay. But what they didn't know is that you put a little like a little shed, like one of those aluminum storage sheds out back.
Okay.
I would say a mother-in-law suite, but that seems too fancy.
Right. Okay.
A storage shed out back, and that's where we put A-Rod. He's on the property.
Right. He's
just relegated.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Right. He's relegated.
Yes, I agree.
Something else out of sight, out of mind. Thankfully, our concerns of Jacob deGrom and some ligament issues with his elbow. This week, Jacob deGrom came out of a game. It was Wednesday night start after 4 innings due to injury, a hyperextended right elbow, which when I'm thinking, let's be – guys are throwing with a lot more elbow. We will discuss that coming up as it pertains to guys like Corey Seager, who is going to have Tommy John surgery, joining Travis d'Arnaud, the second position player this year to have that surgery. Mickey Callaway, the skipper for the New York Mets, told reporters deGrom incurred the injury while swinging in his third inning at bat. So it did not come from throwing, but we have seen multiple arm issues with that pitching staff. Thankfully for that ball club, the MRI showed no further damage. deGrom should be making his start Monday, coming up here in just a couple of days. Chris, that is a big thing for this ball club, who right now they're 3-7 in their last 10. They have lost 4 straight. 17-13, now sitting a game and a half behind the Braves in the NL East. Again, we will discuss these standings coming up, but sigh of relief from the Big Apple.
This is a ball.
I'm sorry about that.
This is a ball club that needs Jacob deGrom on the mound. He's been good this year, and now hopefully with this behind him and maybe this discomfort going away, he'll be even better. And the Mets haven't really been who we thought the Mets were going to be this year, and I say that not negatively. They've been a much better.
They've been better than we thought they were going to be.
They've been a much better team than we thought they were going to be, but they need Jacob deGrom to keep that going, and to have a guy like deGrom go down possibly for the season. I mean, a UCL, we're talking TJ, man, and nobody wants to hear that news. So this is fantastic news for the New York Mets.
Yeah, I mean, in a Mets team who has, we talked about it for last couple of years. The big two in that pitching staff, because, the Dark Knight, apparently Bane has broke the Dark Knight back, and he gone. Matt Harvey has been DFA'd from the club. We discussed it last week, or on the last show, when he was going to get moved to the bullpen. Would he accept a minor league assignment if it couldn't be fixed? The answer, not no, as Joe Sargent Murphy would say. Hell no.
Yeah. He flat out refused a minor league assignment, and the Mets, at the end of their wits and at the end of their rope, out of options with a guy who just can't get it together, allowed 5 runs in a bullpen in a bullpen appearance. They made the right decision, in my opinion, to put him on waivers.
Yeah. Teammates calling it a bombshell, shocking. Jerry Blevins, the veteran reliever, said, quote, "I've seen pretty much everything happen in this game. It was a move I think the Mets had to make, and I think Matt made a move he needed to make. I think Matt needed a fresh start. He has some quality stuff, and I think he has a lot of big league time left in him. Sometimes you just need to change the scenery for your career to blossom again. I just hope he doesn't end up in our division." End quote. You know what, Jerry? That's really nice of you to say. But if he's pitching like this, by God, I hope to hell he ends up in my division, and then we get to see him 8 times in the next 2 weeks.
That's right. Because those are W's on the scoreboard, on the win-loss column, because right now there is not a single team in this league that Matt Harvey provides a better opportunity to win.
Yeah. It's Mickey Callaway responded in a way that I would expect a pitching coach to respond, saying that basically we failed Matt Harvey. Our job here is to make these players better and to whatever issues that they're having, help them through it. And we couldn't do it. I'm sorry. I get what you're saying, Mickey, and you're doing things the right way as a skipper there. But you know what? End of the day, you didn't fail Matt Harvey. Matt Harvey failed you. He has failed you for over 2 years. It is a very sad ending to a career that we thought was going to be just, the next up and coming star of the game. 2013, pitched 178 innings, and then all of a sudden, All-Star game, starts the All-Star game, finishes fourth in the Cy Young voting that year, could have easily won the Cy Young in 2013. Then he has to have arm surgery. Out for an entire year, comes back in 2015, posts a 2.71 ERA. Granted, it's a half run higher than we saw in 2013, but okay, 2.71 still respectable, still usable. Pitched 189 innings. Then just what the hell happened? 4-10 in 2016 when we began the show. 5-7.
Remember, we started the show on that issue.
Yep.
Very first show ever.
The title, What is Wrong with Matt Harvey?
And we both posited the idea that maybe he pushed too hard coming back from a very difficult surgery to come back from. And there's also the idea that maybe Matt Harvey wasn't one of those 20%ers, but the way he played in 2015 without letting himself recuperate properly made him a 20%.
Yeah, it's the hard part that you're going to have is they have a week to find a spot to move him. He's owed $5.6 million this year. You can try and tell me, man, well, I think there are some teams that might want him. Who wants him?
I will be shocked if Matt Harvey gets picked up on waivers.
I mean, yeah. What rotation do you want to put him in?
Actually, I've got one.
I'm listening.
Well, I mean, the Giants might pick him up.
Yeah, that would just be swell.
It wouldn't be good for them, but $5 million for a pitcher for a name like that, maybe his change of scenery does him some good. Maybe he can win 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 games while Cueto and Samardzija and Mad Bum are trying to figure themselves out.
I'm going to argue back on your statement with the reference that you can appreciate. Okay. As a literature guy, right? Clearly, literature guy. Chris Furry, what's in a name? A Harvey by any other name would pitch just as crappy. End scene.
It's actually not the end of that scene. That scene goes on. That scene goes on.
It was a commercial break, okay?
It seems interminably, to be honest, that scene goes on. Thank you for fighting. Thank you for arguing back with my least favorite Shakespeare play ever.
No problem. I mean, to be fair, though, let's think about this. If that is the reference that I use just for that particular quote. But, I mean, if a team signed him, that play ends in death.
Yes, it is a tragedy.
It is a tragedy. Okay.
Matt Harvey is also a tragedy. Not the fact that he wasn't able to really come back and be the Matt Harvey we wanted him to be. Matt Harvey's attitude is a tragedy.
Yes. And that's what makes it worse, right? Because sitting back on this, as much as you and I joke and cut up and kind of rag on guys a little bit, God, if the guy had at least looked a little bit more like he gave a damn, we'd have some empathy for him.
Right.
But it's just like,
But the whole time, this has been about somebody other than Matt Harvey, in Matt Harvey's eyes.
right.
Matt Harvey can do no wrong in his own eyes, and until that attitude changes, until he realizes that this is his problem and he needs to fix it, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell him.
So, I mean, they asked Scott Boras, his agent, about the refusal to go to the minors. Boras said, quote, "Going into a new organization, you can map out an approach. Once you are sent to the minors by the Mets, they have total control of how long you're there. There is no forecast. It is, we will see how you do. Matt has good stuff and is healthy, which is good. These thoracic outlet syndrome surgeries takes time to get your command back. And the bullpen is not the best place for Matt. In a bullpen, you work on 2 pitches. Matt needs to work on all 4. He needs to get back to working on his skill set. The guy got in great shape. He was doing all he can do. His velocity was back, and he was working hard. He is not effective yet. The Mets felt for their particular needs, he needs to be put in the bullpen. I just feel with a starting pitcher, particularly in Matt Harvey's need to feel to pitch, it is important he start," close quote.
Okay, so I'm just going to call BS on that entire –
You're calling BS on Boras?
That's right. Because the best place for him to go and work on all 4 pitches is AAA. Let him go somewhere where while he's working on it, he's not going to get batted all over the yard and lose all of his confidence.
I think it's one of those things where if the Mets – and I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Had the Mets given him a look, if you go down and we can get things figured out, we're good. If not, we'll send you on your merry way. The difficulty here is once a guy goes AAA, if he continues to struggle, the possibility of finding a trade partner has now gone down those things you're installing after the show.
But the Mets are in a position now where they don't care if they're going to trade him. They don't care if they get anything for him. They don't care if he makes it through waivers or not. I think the Mets right now are willing to pay the $5.25 million to get rid of Matt Harvey,
right? Because
Matt Harvey is sabotaging Matt Harvey.
Right. I hear you, and I think at the end of the day, it's an ego thing. And right now, you can say what you want. He's got good stuff. His stuff is crappy. Yeah. He has no good stuff. He hasn't had good stuff for a couple of years. He can have a moment where it might look good. His stuff isn't good.
Right.
Guys, we'll take a short break here. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
He did at the beginning of the season. He did. His first start of the season, he did look good. And remember, we commented on it because he did look good. But it didn't last. And it didn't last because Matt Harvey's not doing the things that Matt Harvey needs to do to be better.
Right.
That's just my opinion.
Hey, opinions are what we do on the show.
That's right.
Guys, when we come back on Out of Left Field, call us the Ricky Hendersons of the baseball podcasting world. We are stealing the top 5, bottom 3 idea, and we will get our own top 5, bottom 3. We'll go over standings, and have we really had 2 no-hitters in the last 2 weeks? That and more back here in a minute Out of Left Field on The Grueling Truth.
Hey, Puckheads, this is Patrick.
And Jason.
From the Puck Guys podcast at the Grueling Truth Network, and we're here with one simple message. If you're watching the games, it's time to start making money.
The Grueling Truth has partnered with MyBookie.ag, an industry-leading sportsbook website who reminds you that where you bet is just as important as who you're betting on. And that's why the Grueling Truth urges you to check out MyBookie.ag.
In addition to the usual thousands of odds, money lines, proposition bets, and futures offered on MyBookie.ag daily, they also have in-game live betting and a mobile site that makes wagering on the go easier than ever. So join now, and MyBookie.ag will give you a 50% bonus on your first deposit of up to $3,000 in extra cash. Just enter the promo code TGT50. That's TGT50 to take advantage of this offer. Where do they got to go, Jay?
That is a smart-looking question, Pat. They need to go to visitmybookie.ag, courtesy of the Grueling Truth Network, and enjoy your winning today.
Mybookie.ag. You play, you win, you get paid.
And we are back. Thank you all so much for hanging with us. We promised it. The thievery, it is strong with us. By the way, happy Cinco de Mayo. It is Cinco de Mayo here. We are
not where I'm from. No. Yesterday was May the 4th, and today is Revenge of the 5th.
Same thing. I mean, I wasn't going to pull out a straight Star Wars reference right away, but I'm good with that. So let's take a look around the big leagues, see the standings and what is going on, and then, well, I think what makes sense, we'll give you our top 5, bottom 3, because, well, what kind of good show doesn't have a top 5, bottom 3 ranking? We're not going to give you every week a power ranking because, well, that's just kind of dumb.
That's not how baseball works.
You can't have power rankings every week. Every month, sure, we will start doing that for you, beginning in June. Maybe next week we'll give it a shot, but we'll be about halfway through May at that point. So expect probably beginning of June, near the All-Star break, as well in July. But you will get power rankings from us. From us every week. You'll get a all the way or top 5, bottom 3 every week power rankings once a month. So let's go around the American League. The Red Sox sit on top, 23-9. Are we surprised? Of course not. It's the Red Sox. They are the only team in baseball with single-digit losses. What is surprising? How in God's name have the Yankees ran off 4 straight? They're 9-1 in their last 10 and a game back. 22-10. Things are beginning to click. Didi Gregorius, one of the best players in the game right now, doing absolutely stupid things with the bat, hitting .319, an OPS of 108.4, 10 home. I told you the statistic. He has 37 hits. 21 of Didi Gregorius' hits are extra base hits. 10 dubs, 1 triple, and 10 round trippers.
And the thing is that
19 times, walked 18. It is insane. He is the MVP of that ball club.
Well, and the thing is that Didi Gregorius' name would be on everybody's lips right now if it wasn't for Mookie Betts, what Mookie Betts was doing in Boston.
Definitely.
I mean, there's no other way to – I mean, people are talking about Jose Altuve out here. Oh, Jose Altuve, yeah, he's doing really well. And he is doing really well. And Jose Altuve is being Jose Altuve. Didi Gregorius is one of those guys who last year when we were watching the postseason – we're all like, oh, well, Judge and Sanchez, and let's see what they do in the postseason. All of a sudden, Didi Gregorius comes out and wins a couple of series for the Yankees, kind of out of nowhere with his bat, and so he kind of got on everybody's radar doing that last year. And in my opinion, he would be far more on everybody's radar right now if Mookie Betts wasn't just having a career year in Boston.
Gleyber Torres, the rookie call-up, he's batting .333. All of a sudden, he's got 15 hits after he got his first one. Wow. Chris taking the hat off, like mid-take, absolutely just stopped me in my tracks. Thanks a lot for that, man. Give me a ceasefire or cut it, something so I don't just mid-take see whatever that bit of duck fluff is just popping out from that big Angus Union ball cap you got going on. So, the Rays, Orioles round out the AL East. Pretty standard there. Again, a team that is – a division that is looking to be the weakest right now, in my opinion. It's the central of the American League, and that – we didn't expect that. The Twins are hurting because some of the new bats they signed are very stagnant offensively. The Indians are on top, but they're only 2 games above 500. The Tigers sit second, the Twins third, the Royals fourth, and the White Sox are a distant fifth. They are 9-21. But all but one ball club is below 500. The Tigers with 13 wins, 5 games below 500. are the nearest team. They're only 3.5 games back of the Indians. The Central is a confusing one. The Indians, while we expect them to win that division because of the weakness in it, and I think we still, expected that to be the weakest division of the group. It just, I don't know, man. It's not what I expected. To me, the most enjoyable division right now is probably a toss-up between the NL East and I think the AL West. I know you might disagree. The Rangers sit 8 games back in last place. I didn't have high hopes for them. It's sad because you got a guy like Adrian Beltre who's on his way out the door of his career. He's nearing home plate as he finishes his time. But the Angels and the Astros tied on top. The Mariners a game and a half back. The A's sitting at 500, 4 games back. They are doing much better than what people thought they were going to do. I'm hanging my hat on that. I've got 2 big claims I made this year, and right now they look pretty damn good, man. The Phillies are 3rd place in the East. They are 3 games above 500 in the National League, and the A's sitting right at 500. Even if they go a couple of games under to end the year, they are much better than what we predicted they would be at the end of the 2017 year. Chris, take us through the NL, please.
Well, shocker, the Braves are sitting atop of the National League East. And I say shocker, and I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to make a joke. I am actually truly shocked that the Braves are sitting on top of that division right now.
What did John Smoltz tell us a couple of years ago? It's not going to be this year. It's probably going to be the next 2 or 3.
Yeah, and to be honest, I thought John Smoltz was blowing smoke, but apparently John Smoltz has some insider information.
That's all with Jose Bautista now being the starting third baseman for the Atlanta Braves as they selected his contract in the last several days to become the starting hot corner player for the big club.
Which I don't know that that's going to do anything helpful for them. I don't think that that's going to help them out probably at all. But, I mean, the Mets are sort of floundering, like we said. The DeGrom situation is probably going to help that, but losing Matt Harvey is probably going to help that.
Yeah.
To be honest, the Phils are the team that I think, they're on a slide right now, but they're still only 2 games out of that division and still playing pretty well. I think we didn't expect them to not slide a little bit after that sort of hot streak that they went on. The Nats are the team that sort of frightened me a little bit because you and I had this conversation prior to the show today. The Nationals should be well on top of that division, and they're just not. Yeah, they've won a bunch of games recently. They're 7-3 in their last 10, but they're just not getting it done. Bryce Harper, though, moving to the leadoff spot in that batting order, and it seems like it's working for him because he's got 4 home runs in 4 games since moving to that spot. And
I want you to think about this. The Mets just got swept by the Braves. They lost 3-2 on the first. They lost 7-0 on the second, 11-0 on the third. And then last night they had a chance but lost to the Rockies 8-7. At one point, the Mets had allowed 24 unanswered runs in 2.5 straight games.
Right, but think about one of the guys who I mentioned in the last segment. You had Harvey out there letting 5 runs cross the plate in a bullpen appearance. Now, that doesn't make up for the fact that team can't seem to score runs either, but realistically, they're getting rid of some of those problems. The Nationals are scaring me a little bit. The Nationals, I think, are an issue. They have something. They need to work some things out. The Marlins are exactly where I expected the Marlins to be. Actually, that's not true. The Marlins aren't exactly where I expected the Marlins to be. The Marlins are playing a whole lot better than I expected them to play this year. They have 11 wins. I didn't think they'd get to double digits.
They're in the position you expected, not with the record you expected.
Right. I didn't expect them to get to double digits by now.
I want to ask you one question. Just not looking for a long answer, but I'm curious. Do you think that the National struggles has something in part to play with the change from Dusty Baker to Dave Martinez? And Martinez being a first-time big league manager with a club that should be on top of that division handily.
I don't think you can discount that at all. I don't think that that's something that you can say is not the case. I don't know that there's a big enough sample size for it to say, well, Dave Martinez is just dropping the ball, or he's not the manager. He's probably not the manager Dusty Baker was. But I don't know that you can put it off on him at this point yet. But I think should the Nationals finish third or fourth in this division, which is about where they're sitting now, Dave Martinez probably should be worried about his job.
They've won 6 straight. One of the things that I still think is a big deal, I know we can discount it, but we've seen what's happened with the Indians. They lost Mickey Callaway. He goes to manage the Mets, right?
Right.
The St. Louis Cardinals, who are first place in the Central, the next division you're going to get to, they hired Mike Maddox this offseason as their pitching coach from Washington. We have seen the Rangers fall off since Maddox left. We're now seeing the Nationals fall off as Maddox has left. We're seeing Cardinals come up as Maddox has arrived. It is a lot. It is a hell. I will admit, it is a hell of a jump to say that a pitching coach has that big of a hand in a team's success right now. But Mike Maddox is that damn good, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely the case. I think there's no way to discount that. Mike Maddox is a great pitching coach, probably among the best in the game, if not the best in the game. Moving on, though, to the National League Central, the Cardinals in first place, 18-12, 6-4 in their last 10. Just fending off the Brewers at this point. The Cardinals have had a couple of games postponed, so they've played fewer games than the Brewers, but they're half a game up on the Brew Crew, who are doing about as well as I think we expected them to do, first or second in that division, in a strong division. The Cubs
– better than the Twins, being one of the teams who we thought, the 2 surprise teams from last year.
Sure.
The Brewers were holding steady.
The Cubs, however, not where we expected the Cubs to be at this point. I expected the Cubs to be in first place handily. Not a whole lot has changed on that club in the last 3 years, and they just can't seem to figure this season out.
The Cubs pitching has the ability to be one of the best staffs in the big leagues. The problem is that on any given day, we don't know which pitcher is showing up to start.
Right, exactly.
There is so much inconsistency with that starting rotation. We're not seeing the same power from these young bats because people are figuring out these young bats. This is where I begin to see that, and I'll tell you, man, I think to a point, I think the loss of Dexter Fowler, granted, yeah, you roll through the World Series. The loss of Fowler, I don't think was the best thing for the Cubs. I think we're saying that, hey, that he was a good piece for that ball club.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Pirates seem like they might actually be a team. I mean,
Jung-Ho Kang coming back, announced that he will get a work visa now after the DUI issues in Korea. So they will get him back as a third baseman in the next month or so. A team that, again, this Central Division, mind-blowing, I think, for us.
Yeah, with the exception of the bottom team, the Reds, who are
no. I am still mind-blown by 8-24.
Oh, right.
It's not in a good way.
Not in the way that your mind is blown by the fact that the Pirates are above 500.
Correctamundo.
So in the NL West, the division that we picked to be the strongest division in the league, I still hold with that at this point. Although not doing as well as I thought they would be doing. You got the Diamondbacks at 21-11, well in control of that division right now. 3.5 games up on the Rockies, 4 games up on the Giants, 6 games up on the Dodgers, who are, in my opinion, the biggest disappointment in that division.
And we have some stuff to talk about them here coming up in just a minute.
Right, and it's only going to get worse. The San Diego Padres at 11-22 are exactly who I thought the San Diego Padres were going to be this year at the bottom of that division. So
the Dodgers have, I think, one thing to maybe, and I hate to say this in a way of, I don't say a blessing in disguise, but Bumgarner should be back in the next, 5 to 6 weeks, maybe. He should be near the end of his DL time. I think it was a 60-day DL stint, so we should be at least halfway through if we calculate in the need for some rehab time, probably 6 weeks out. But Johnny Cueto going to DL, and there are 3 really, really bad words that are coming out of this DL stint for Johnny Cueto.
Madison Bumgarner has stated, when asked if an early June return to the Giants rotation remained a possibility, said, and I quote, "I think that's a little conservative." He intends to return. To return prior to June.
Okay. And before that, like I said, 3 words you never want to hear when it comes to a pitcher. Dr. James Andrews. Which normally leads to 3 more words. Tommy John surgery. We'll find out. We'll let you know when that gets made, but that could be a big blow for the Giants and could open the door for the Dodgers to get into 3rd place, and then we'll see what happens from there. Pitching kind of seems to be the theme of the show, at least for the latter part of the show after the first couple of segments. But sometimes pitching is a good theme to have. But pitchers tacitly accusing other ball clubs of cheating is an even better story to have.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun to watch unfold on Twitter, where Trevor Bauer tends to have meltdowns.
Because everything good has to unfold on Twitter nowadays.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even want to get into that. But so Trevor Bauer, in his infinite wisdom, has accused the Houston Astros as a staff of cheating. I mean, there's no nice way to put it. He has accused them as a staff of using foreign substances on the baseball in order to achieve better spin rates. I don't think there's any question. I mean, he didn't come right out and say they're using foreign substances, but he wasn't really subtle about it either. So I think that this is just another Trevor Bauer meltdown. I think that he's just being who I think Trevor Bauer's been on Twitter for the last couple of years, ever since his Donald Trump meltdown in 2017.
The point he made, I think, made the most sense is that, you're telling me that in the World Series, my finger is cut, so I put super glue on it to hold stitches in place, and I can't pitch, but then you're to him, you're selectively enforcing the foreign substance rule. It was just interesting. And then the way he clarified it was pretty good. But
his morality clause?
Yeah. And before we get to the morality clause, let's circle back around as I completely just brain farted. And thank you for quietly not embarrassing me and letting me know, hey, dummy, top 5s. I appreciate that, battle buddy. that you covered me while I unfortunately moved the wrong way. So let's take you through top 5, bottom 3. I'll start top 5 for me: the Red Sox, the Astros, Diamondbacks, the Angels, and the Yankees. To me, the Diamondbacks and the Angels, you can flip. I just, with me, the Diamondbacks being a divisional leader, I put ahead of the Angels. But they're neck and neck. The Yankees are lower because 9-1 in the last 10 is awesome, but I want to know that I can trust that before I consider moving them further up. My bottom 3: the Reds, the White Sox, and the Orioles. The Reds are an insult to dumpster fires. The White Sox are a team that have a ton of young talent from teams like the Nationals and also the Red Sox, Moncada being one of them. I expected them to be better this year in an extremely weak American League Central. They are disappointing to the max. The Orioles, the AL East isn't great. I thought the Orioles had the possibility to be better than the Blue Jays did. A bottom of the barrel Orioles team.
The AL East isn't great?
Well, what I'm saying is you have a massive disparity. Is my point.
Sure.
I'm saying it in that realm, that it's a division of 2 on top, which is what we talked about this year. It's why we applauded the Rays for selling off the pieces. You're not going to compete in a division where you have 2 teams at the top and everybody else is just fighting for 3, 4, and 5. That's what I mean by that.
Right. Sure.
But that to me at the end, that's a complete and easy signal of the end of the Machado era, which will put the Orioles, unfortunately, back to the bottom for, I think, the next 3 to 4 seasons.
In my opinion, if the Reds are an insult to dumpster fire, the Orioles at this point are an insult to the Reds. Because and I'm just going to tell you why. Because in my opinion, the Orioles at least have the pieces in Machado and Jones to do better than what they're doing right now. And let's be honest, all 3 of the teams in our bottom 3, the Orioles, the White Sox, and Reds, are in single-digit wins right now. And the Orioles are the one team that I thought should be well into double digits by now.
As a wordsmith that I know you are, I've already used the word flabbergasted, so I will give you another word for the Orioles. They're discombobulated.
They are. And there's something going on either in that clubhouse or on that team that has drawn these guys away from each other and created some sort of rift, some sort of divide. And I think a lot of it has to center around Machado's, saying that this is it for him as far as his contract is concerned in Baltimore.
Right. And
my top 5.
Oh, go ahead.
My top 5: Red Sox, Astros, Angels, Diamondbacks, Yankees. Only reason I say Angels over Diamondbacks is just because I think the Angels are going to continue to play the way they're playing. And I like the Diamondbacks, man. I just don't see them being the runaway team that they are right now for the rest of this season.
Okay. I just want to say, don't worry, West Coast fans, Padres, you are just on the bubble of my list, on the bottom 3.
Yeah, see, and we had an argument about this before the show. I don't have the Padres on the bubble of my bottom 3. I have the Rangers on the bubble of my bottom 3 because I expected something out of the Rangers and I'm not getting it. And I didn't expect anything out of the Padres, and I'm not getting anything out of the Padres. So I'm comfortable with that.
Right. Yeah. It's I don't know. I mean, I hear what you're saying. To me, I saw what Odor did last year. I wasn't overly impressed. And I think he got massively overpaid, and the Rangers are now paying for an overpayment. So I am not as blown away by by the lack of good production. Back to the morality clause, because that's just too good to skim over. So when all this got said and done, Lance McCullers came back, said jealousy isn't a good look on you. You have great stuff and have worked hard for it like the rest of us. No need for this. Trevor Bauer said, I'm not jealous. I promise you that. I respect what you all are doing over there. My gripe is with the hypocrisy of Major League Baseball for selectively enforcing rules when it suits them.
I have a question. You're an umpire, so yes. I'm asking you this question in your capacity as an umpire.
Ooh, exciting.
Now, if a pitcher is using a foreign substance and then throws a ball in the dirt, and the catcher reaches back to hand that ball to you, and you take the ball from the catcher and you feel the foreign substance, the onus is then on you to investigate what the tackiness on that ball is, yes or no?
Issue that you have there is if the ball has been used multiple times.
Well, no, we're talking about Major League Baseball, so nothing in the dirt gets used multiple times.
But if you got a baseball that's been knocked around the yard once or twice, and it's got a little bit of pine tar from a bat on it, the also thing you got to think of is the ball itself should not be having as much of the pine tar on it as it is. He wants it on his fingers for the grip of the skin to get the extra spin. You're not going to have a huge glob of pine tar sitting on that ball. So the likelihood of you feeling really a lot of tack, stickiness on that ball, you're not really going to get anything, because normally you're going to get it, you're going to look at it and go, okay, yep, no scuff. You're going to put it back in your bag. Maybe you give it a rub just to smooth it out, if anything's kind of up a little bit. But if I see scuff, or if I know it was a hard shot, halftime my catcher is going to just toss to the dugout. I'm going to take it like, yeah, get it out of here. Hey, I need 4. I need 3 more. You're not going to sit there and readily investigate the outside cover of the baseball.
I just think that in a league like Major League Baseball, where you're not using a ball that's been put in play a second time, you're not using a ball that's been in the dirt a second time, all those balls are removed from play almost immediately. I mean, we're talking about a league that goes through sometimes 100 balls in a game.
Right.
I think it would thanks a lot, Brandon Belt. You know how much Brandon Belt – do you know how much Brandon Belt cost that team?
You told me the Angels. I don't remember it.
He cost the Angels $132 in baseballs. Now, at about $5 a ball, that's a lot of baseballs. 21 of them, to be exact. 16 of them foul into the stands.
Oh, man.
But, yeah, I mean, I just think that it would be a little too much to say that the entire staff on any single team is involved in this sort of trickery when those balls have to come out of the game so often.
Right.
Now, Trevor Bauer did try to clarify, saying that my fastball, quote, my fastball is about 2,250 RPM on average, and I know for a fact I can add 400 RPM to it by using pine tar. Look how much better I would be if I didn't have morals. He also went on to say, quote, I may want to make it abundantly clear and not mince words on it. I have no problem with any other organization in the league, none. Regarding the Astros, I think they do a great job of player development. I have no accusations against them at all. I've never made any, and I'm not accusing them of cheating. That being said, there is a problem in baseball right now that has to do with sticky substances and spin rates. We might not have had the technology before to measure how sticky stuff affects the ball, how it spins, how it moves, but all that research is clear now. We know how it affects spin rate, and we know spin rates affects outcomes and pitchers and movements that have a big difference in a game, a season, and each individual player's career, end quote. I would like to preface that. I would like to suffix that by saying that in his next start, Trevor Bauer's fastball was spinning at about 400 RPM higher than his season per season average.
Yeah,
I'm not saying he put a sticky substance on the ball, but those are his numbers.
Yeah, Jordan Bastain at ML Bastain tweeted, Bauer's four-seamer had a spin rate of 2,597 RPM in the first inning of last start, compared to a 2,294 season average. Had no comment on whether he used a substance on the ball, but noted that his research shows a 200 to 300 RPM jump on higher velocity pitches when a substance is used. Wow. So you're going to pull the plead the fifth, no comment card after you're going to go on Twitter and show every bit of butt cheek that you can?
Hey, that moral high ground starting to look like a foxhole.
Well, I mean, hey, just be careful, because I remember if Corey Kluber gets involved, the last time my buddy's in my foxhole, that cadence never ended that well.
No.
As we continue on the pitching kick, granted, yes, we're a smidge late, but we are at 2 no-hitters on the season so far. It took us months just to get to 1 last year in Miami. But Sean Manaea said, I'll take care of that. It's okay. And in Oakland, of all places, Manaea gets a no-hitter that nearly wasn't 2 different times.
and that I think maybe in tertiary review shouldn't have been.
Wow.
Tertiary means third, Graham. I don't know if you just wanted to throw that out there for you in case you didn't know.
Yeah, I appreciate you throwing it out there, but as I tell most of the batters who walk up, I'm an umpire. I don't play. It means I can't catch. Just hand me the baseball. So, yeah, thanks for throwing it out there, but I don't catch. I'm an umpire.
Oh, right. I forgot. Yeah, and of all teams for him to do it against, he did it against the Red Sox, a red-hot Red Sox team, not just now, but especially at the time the Red Sox were red-hot. Sean Manaea did throw that no-hitter. I actually watched the last inning of it. It was a lot of fun to watch. There were a couple of questionable decisions made, including the out-of-the-base path decision that probably wasn't actually an out of the base path violation, but neither here nor there. I don't think that there's a no-hitter in existence that doesn't have some sort of questionable part.
Yeah. It did not. All right. So give me just a minute here, since and we haven't gone behind the mask in a while. The idea of out of the baseline, the runner establishes his baseline. That's kind of where it gets weird here. Keeping in mind that from home to first, this is not the baseline that we're thinking about when we talk a running lane violation. That running lane is strictly on protecting a throw from home plate to first in that area to keep the runner from interfering. In this case, once the ball was obtained by the defender and the defender attempted to make a play on Benintendi, Benintendi can go forward or backwards. He can't go side to side. You have 3 feet from your established base path side to side to try and avoid a play. If you go outside of that 3 feet, you're declared out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if let's say we're in a rundown between first and second, and in running to second, you turn and try and retreat towards first, you are not held to the same line that you took from first to second in returning. You create the baseline each time you turn around. So your baseline can effectively change. Once the play is being made on you, though, that is where the 3 feet side to side comes into effect. That was the ruling they conferred on, and 4 umpires, namely, you got to think this is probably the home plate umpire giving the majority of the conversation here, because he's looking up that line for the possible lane violation. He can see the jump. In his judgment, he deemed Benintendi to be more than the 3 feet allowed as the play was being made. Eventually, they called him out.
And to be fair, this is the home plate umpire that night is an umpire with a whole heck of a lot of experience.
It's Hunter Wendelstedt.
In Hunter Wendelstedt. So, I'm not gonna make any judgments on what Hunter saw or what Hunter didn't see or what's right or what's wrong. I think that Hunter probably made exactly the call that should have been made. But there's going to be arguments about it from Bo Sox fans until, probably up until next season or up until the next no-hitter. Oh, wait, we don't have to wait for the next no-hitter because it's already happened. In fact, it happened last night when the Los Angeles Dodgers in Monterrey, Mexico, combined for a no-hitter, the 23rd, I believe, no-hitter in Dodgers history, but the first combined no-hitter and just the 12th combined no-hitter in Major League Baseball history.
And I think the last one of those we saw, wasn't it didn't Kevin Millwood start it for the Mariners?
Yes.
It wasn't, it was like it wasn't that long. It was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but that's the last one that I recall.
And so this one was started.
Spring training notwithstanding. We had one in spring training last year, but.
Right. This one was started by rookie Walker Buehler.
Fry.
This one was started by rookie Walker Buehler, and he had 6 fantastic no-hit innings. But Robert said that going to the pen was, quote, a no-brainer. Tony Cingrani comes in, tosses a no-hit frame. Yimi Garcia comes in, tosses a no-hit frame, and then Adam Liberatore comes in, tosses a no-hit frame to close it out. And they finish up a 4-0 win over the Padres in the opener of that Mexico series. I mean, I didn't think we'd get to 2 this quickly. I didn't think we'd get to 2.
I'm just going to say this. I want to be a starting pitcher the night that Albert Pujols gets his 2000th Rippy.
Why?
June 3rd, 2017. Albert Pujols hit his 600th home run.
Mm-hmm.
Edinson Volquez also threw a no-hitter for the Marlins. May 4th, 2018. Albert Pujols got his 3,000th hit. Dodgers throw a combined no-hitter.
You know what else was funny? We very nearly had 2 no-hitters last night.
Yes. Garrett Cole basically told everyone to hold his beer.
Yeah. He's like, oh, the Dodgers are going to combine for a no-no? Watch this.
Oh, the tacky substance was strong with – I'm just kidding.
16 strikeouts, a career high, and only gave up –
3 straight times.
Struck out the side 3 consecutive times. I, too, play MLB The Show. And gave up only a 5th inning double for his first career shutout. And it's a one-hitter, an 8-0 victory over the Diamondbacks at Chase Field, by the way, where they have not lost more than a handful of games this year. But here's the crazy thing. He has 77 strikeouts in 7 appearances.
He's filthy this year. He is absolutely filthy this year.
Oh, and you know what's really great?
ERA.
You know what's really great? I have him on my fantasy team, and he scored me 45 points yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody, you're welcome for the fantasy baseball update.
No, fantasy baseball is a thing.
I know it's a thing. It's a noun.
Nobody likes you. Yeah, and, A.J. Hinch, quote, "Wow, it's hard to describe. It's an incredible display of pitching. We've had a ton of consecutive really good pitching performances this year, and none is going to top that to this point."
See, A.J. Hinch says all that, but I just picture him kind of sitting in the dugout and leaning back and just going, next.
And the crazy thing is, the last out of the game, the last out of this shutout, was a 99-mile-an-hour fastball that got Gerard Dyson to foul out on an 0-2 pitch.
And you got to think, in a game like that,
and the previous two pitches were also 98 and 99.
We've seen Verley do the same kind of thing. And you got to think how nice it is in a moment like that to have Garrett Cole, a former National League pitcher, in a ballpark where he has to hit, and Hinch being able to go, yep, get a stick, get going, scoot, go do your thing. Now, granted, he's 0 for 5 and 5 ABs, but it's one of those things where you feel comfortable putting a guy who's pitching that well in the box and not making him uncomfortable or getting him out of a rhythm because he's been in that kind of rhythm for so long.
And you got to think how good it is, how good it must feel right now for him to go into that situation against a team that, not including Gerard Dyson. Gerard Dyson's not having the greatest year. He's only hitting 165. But against a team who is overall hitting quite well this year, and playing quite well this year, for him to still be in the game in the ninth inning and have the confidence to throw that high heat to guys who can hit high heat.
Right. Yeah. There is, as we get ready to round out the show here, there's a guy who has been, I wouldn't say known to hit high heat very long. Young guy. But is Cody Bellinger becoming known, at least in his ball club, for something else besides a very good bat at a very young age? Dodgers manager Dave Roberts benched Cody Bellinger for lack of hustle a few days ago in a 4-2 loss to the San Francisco Giants. Bellinger hit a double in the fifth inning, down 4-0 to San Francisco into Triples Alley, the big brick triangular corner in AT&T Park in San Francisco. Bellinger said, quote, "I took a big swing on a curveball and went down on my knee. We're down 4 runs. I'm not trying to make an out on the bases at third to be the first out. That was my reasoning. He saw what he saw, so it's all good. I'm never going to dog it." Roberts was unhappy, I think, because he has already had this kind of conversation with Bellinger before. Said, quote, "I felt there wasn't hustle on the play. The ball he hit went 421 feet into right center field. He cruised into second base, and for me, I just feel he's too talented of a player. We've got a right fielder in Kiki Hernandez out there who had the chills the day prior, throwing up. He's diving around out there. For Cody not to be on third base, it's something we talked about before. I wouldn't be doing him or the team any service by not acting," close quote.
Well, and here's the thing. You watch that play, and yeah, he went down to his knee, but had he popped up and took off, I think he would have been into third. It would have been in the dirt, but he would have been into third.
He home run trotted that whole double.
He did, and he cruised into second. And he stared at that ball as it flew, I think maybe expecting it to go over the wall. I think he thought he got all of that one, and he did. It went 421 feet. But the problem is you can't watch the ball like that. You can't cruise around first base like that in a trot. You got to put the pedal to the metal, especially when your team is out there grinding every day for wins, and you guys are sitting in fourth place at the division that you should be running away with. And Then he turns around with the next hitter and gets doubled off on a line drive.
And here's the ironic thing. Now, granted, he said Bellinger said he wasn't sure if he was out because the double off or the run. What Robert said is, quote, "I didn't need an explanation. I saw it pretty clear," referencing his lack of hustle on the hit.
It's laziness. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah. We've talked about it before. He plays every day. Certain expectations in the way we have to play the game. When you don't abide by that, we'll get somebody in there that will. It's pretty simple, close quote. Big words from a manager who some kind of say, maybe he's not right for the job. I think Dave Roberts is a breath of fresh air in that ball club. Gone from Joe Torre to Don Mattingly. Dave Roberts is, still a little bit of that old school mentality.
Well, let's not forget what he did with that team last year.
Yeah. Back-to-back manager of the year.
I feel like Bellinger's response is going to create.
Manager of the year 2 years ago, not last.
Right. I feel like Bellinger's response is going to create a bit of a divide in that ball club, in that clubhouse, because he says, and I quote, "I'm going to keep playing the way I do. I don't think anybody can tell me how to play. I always play hard." End quote.
That's the worst part to hear, because if and you've coached, managed a little bit. It
makes him sound uncoachable.
It sounded like he just flipped a middle finger to Dave Roberts.
Right. It makes him sound uncoachable. And you can't be uncoachable at any level, ever. I don't care if you're the best thing since sliced bread. You have to be able to take constructive criticism. You have to be coachable. You have to listen to what the guys who are in charge are saying. And if they're asking you to make changes to your game, you need to be willing to do it.
Right.
Everybody.
Sure.
And
last thing. Oh, go ahead, man. Yep. You got it.
I think that includes not just how you play, but how you throw. And I told you a few weeks ago that there is an issue in baseball right now of guys who are trying to get extra velocity by whipping the arm from the elbow, and it's creating these UCL issues, right? I said that. And it's especially true with pitchers, but it's also true with position players. I told you about a player who played for Mingus who blew his elbow out, had everything in the world going for him, blew his elbow out, couldn't play baseball anymore. Now, one of the great young players in baseball, and Corey Seager, is going to miss the entire season and possibly a majority of next season undergoing Tommy John surgery, a pitcher's surgery, because I'm telling you, it's how he throws the ball.
Like I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, second position player this year, Travis d'Arnaud, catcher for the Mets, being another. It is, and you're right. I mean, we see guys throwing. All right, I'm going to bring up, and granted, I'm probably going to date myself a little bit, but do you remember the movie Rookie of the Year?
Yes.
Remember when he first jacks his arm all up? It's in the cast,
right?
And it's basically sitting in a 90-degree right angle type of position,
right?
Right out from the body, arm, forearm flat and his arm above his head, like you're swearing an oath.
Right.
That's how we're seeing guys throw. We're not seeing as much of the that sidearm whip. A lot of guys are coming straight overhead, and we're seeing a lot of tight wrist to the body kind of throws. It's something that I hope doesn't become an epidemic, but man, the way baseball has been going, we've seen strikeouts go on the rise because guys are hitting differently. And at the same time, you got to think, I mean, a lot of guys are doing a lot of, it's also a lot of down and uppercutting the ball, which also is going to get that front elbow way up, it's going to get your throw whichever way, a lot higher up in that zone. A lot of more upward angle movement. I'm interested to see if the changes that guys are making like this are going to necessitate and cause more injuries. I hope it doesn't, but it is something to keep an eye on, because trying to get guys who are starting to tweak their mechanics or come into things in a different way at the age they are when they make the big leagues, trying to change that stuff, we already know that Matt Harvey is virtually impossible.
Right. That's exactly right. And once these kids at a young age start playing the game this way, and this is what they get, and I see it even now in freshman ball players who are throwing the ball this way, and they have a ton of velocity coming across the infield. But how much damage are they doing, especially when you add to the fact that these kids are playing more baseball than kids have ever played. They're playing
travel ball has caused a detriment into, I think, future talent to a point.
I agree. But these kids are playing travel ball, they're playing winter ball, they're playing fall ball, they're playing spring ball, they're playing all kinds of ball. And I have students who are playing high school baseball and travel ball at the same time. These kids will play 3 or 4 games in a week with the high school team and then turn around and go to a tournament with a travel ball team all weekend.
Yeah, and you'll play 3 to 4 games a day sometimes doing those tournaments. It's not like basketball where you can play 2 or 3 games of basketball a day, but you're in a gym, at least it's comfortable, it's air-conditioned. Football, you should only be playing 1 or 2 games a day. I've seen some play 2. I think it's stupid. But baseball, man, you're kind of just standing around. No, you might be standing in the field for a good chunk of time, but the things that you have to do when that ball comes to you, even in small sample sizes, doing it without allowing your body to rest and heal. People throwing a baseball the way that we do is not mechanically sound. The body is not made to do that. It's not mechanically sound.
Right. We don't throw a baseball the way we, for example, would throw a spear. We don't throw a baseball the way we would really throw anything else, because it's not as effective for the game to throw it that way.
Right.
So you can't just come full overarm, all of the pressure, all of this tension in your shoulder, which has the muscular structure around it to take it, because you're not going to get the velocity that you need with that forearm whip.
So why don't we do that? Why don't we make the pitcher's mound flat? We have the pitcher in short center field, get like a 2 or 3 step, kind of getting your feet set, and have him just long toss it to home, and then play from there. No?
You want to hear something funny?
I've been listening to something funny for the last hour. You're the other half of the show.
Yeah. Well, at least it's better than what I've had to do and look at something funny for the last 3.5 hours.
Well, then turn off your own camera and stop looking at yourself. Anyway, what were you going to tell me?
We used to actually do that.
Did you really?
Yeah. We used to have a guy stand out right behind second base and just long toss into the catcher, and we would stand in the box and swing on it. Now, we weren't getting anything out of it, but it was fun because when they're long tossing like that, there's a heck of a lot of power behind that, and you can hit a ball a long way on one of those throws. It's actually kind of fun to see if you can put the bat on it.
Well, so we're always trying to think of new and exciting ways to change the game here on the show. So that's right. That's our never going to happen idea of the week.
That's right, and I think that the commissioner could learn a lot from us.
He could if he would come on the show.
But yeah, this is a huge blow for the Dodgers. I can't imagine that this is going to make their woes any better.
Yeah.
Corey Seager's a huge piece. Even as young as he is, he's a huge piece of that team.
I am – any other team, I'd already be kind of thinking, man, what's going on? But they have until the All-Star break to try and get this figured out. You go beyond the All-Star break, you start looking at 2019. it's going to be an interesting year for the team, for the Dodgers, for a lot of teams, and for us here on the show. Plenty of stuff coming at you next week. More top fives. We'll give you our top 5, bottom 3. See how teams progress this week. Should be fun. 5 to 6 games. Hey, top 5, bottom 3 is going to change every week, guys. Of course, we will have our power ranking starting in June. Be sure to stop by The Grueling Truth, thegruelingtruth.net, and at Grueling Truth on Facebook and Twitter. And, of course, our show page, Out of Left Field, with Chris and Graham on Facebook and at OO Left Field on Twitter. For all of us here at the Grueling Truth Network, here at the show for Chris, I am Graham. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. See you next week on Out of Left Field.